All right. All right, well, welcome everyone. This is week 3 of our series. We're looking forward to another great educational session today, led by Nick Militich, the Senior VP of Solution Architecture here at Managecore. Just before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. We want to keep this as interactive as possible, so please turn your phone on, or your camera on and your microphone. Please mute yourself when you're not talking, and then we'll take questions at the end. And again, as a reminder, all sessions are being recorded, and you can refer back to them or have colleagues refer back to them, or partners, or whomever you want to share our content with live on our website, and we will share the link at the end of this presentation. So take it away, Nick.
Thanks, Kristen. So today's virtual meetup topic is going to be live migration, and it's a GCP-centric product. So I'm going to talk about specifically how live migration works for SAP workloads in Google Cloud. So a little bit of background on GCP and really any public cloud in general. There is a specific way that servers are provisioned within those environments, and you really need to understand the difference between zones and regions. Zones are physical data center locations, and regions are geographical locations within the world. So basically, you have multiple zones within a region in GCP. So that means if we were on the West Coast and we were in a region that is in Oregon, we might have 3 different zones in that region as an example, which means 3 physical different data centers that GCP has within that region. Now, how it pertains to live migration is live migration allows for the flexibility of having your systems run continuously within a single zone. So again, everything I talk about today is going to be around a single zone failover or hardware maintenance or anything like that. So this live migration technology that GCP has basically lets you have 4.9 uptime within GCP, within that zone for a compute instance, so for a VM. And live migration is unique because what it does is it allows you to have your VMs moved in the event of hardware maintenance, hardware failure, anything of that nature. Let's say Google has to patch in a piece of underlying infrastructure. They will use live migration to move your environment around within GCP, effectively giving you an HA type solution without having to actually deploy any type of HA clustering like SUSE or Windows clustering. You won't have to actually perform any clustering mechanism. And from an SAP perspective, we all know that SAP is not difficult to cluster, but it doesn't work in the traditional fashion of other products. So clustering SAP can oftentimes require additional maintenance and upkeep if you have a clustered solution. So live migration effectively lets you do similar technique. However, there will be a blip in connectivity should a system completely go down. So now going a little bit into live migration. In the event of Google actually doing some sort of hardware maintenance or software maintenance on that hardware, Google will initiate the live migration, and it will go to your server will go to a different piece of physical hardware, and you'll never have an outage. Nothing will be, no blips. It'll be up 100% of the time. You can see when this happens in Google using Stackdriver. You can see when a live migration occurs. So you are notified that one happens. However, you will not experience any downtime. So 100% uptime with live migration if Google is doing some sort of maintenance. In the event that a piece of hardware actually goes down, live migration also will automatically move your environment. Now, this is a little different scenario because live migration can't predict every single hardware failure. We all know that physical piece of hardware could just go down at any time. And if that is the case, live migration will actually kick in and move your environment over. However, you will experience a slight blip and then come back up on a new piece of hardware. How long it takes to move really depends on how big the piece of hardware is. But we've seen instances where our monitoring tool doesn't even pick up the fact that a system was down. So if you have the auto start feature enabled in live migration, it'll just start your VM somewhere else on the new piece of hardware. And then we can also auto start SAP. So that'll allow you to, have that system back up and running in minutes. Recent experiences have been within 1 to 2 minutes, that server will be back up and running and reconnected to a database. So how that works, especially with HANA, is that then HANA is separate from that actual server, the PAS server, right? The primary application server. So let's say your primary application server went down and live migration brought it back up. Your database has always been up. So that primary app server will actually spin back up, start SAP, but the database will already be up and it'll connect. Again, like I said, within a few minutes, your system will be back up and running. Now, the beauty of that is that it allows you to do within a single zone an HA type solution without the complexity of the clustering. So that really is a unique feature to GCP. Live migration also, notices when certain hardware might be failing, and GCP will move you in the event of, let's say one half of a redundant pair of fans or power supplies is out and maintenance has to be done on that. Live migration will move you to be able to make that physical switch on that piece of equipment. So it's a great feature to have. Some people equate it to VMware's vMotion type of product. However, live migration works a little more seamlessly, and it has the ability to go on the back end with some of Google's AI and machine learning to understand that a piece of hardware might fail, and it'll move you over within GCP. So similar type product, but overall, again, as live migration is concerned, very good tested way to do an HA-like solution without having to do the HA piece. When you do the HA environment, and if you were to set up an SAP environment with a clustering solution, you'll experience a downtime as it flips over, a little bit of a blip, and your system will be up and fully functioning. User will be back on within about 5 minutes. If you're within the same zone, live migration will do the same thing. You'll be up within a few minutes, and you won't really experience too much of a blip, other than maybe users getting disconnected and reconnected. And again, that's in the event if a piece of hardware goes down. So steady state, live migration will migrate you and keep you up and running for any type of planned maintenance that Google has. So you can expect 100% uptime as long as Google is doing planned maintenance, because they will move you with the live migration product. When it comes to specific zones or regions, live migration is available everywhere. But when we do talk about failing over to a different zone or a different region, live migration isn't necessarily the tool that will get you there. Live migration can't span zones. So in that aspect, when you're architecting for high availability between a zone or between a region, you want to look at other tool sets to accomplish that. So that's where clustering would come in, or HANA replication. Any of those technologies would be able to get you to a different zone and possibly a different region. But in each zone, you will have live migration. So as long as you're running in that exact zone, live migration will do that HA for you. So it really depends on what you're trying to protect against. A zonal failure, a failure of a piece of equipment within a zone, or a failure of an entire region. So as live migration is concerned, it will protect you for hardware failures within a zone, but will not protect you from zonal failure, a complete zonal outage, or a complete regional outage. So you want to be cognizant of that and where live migration plays into the whole redundancy of your infrastructure within GCP. But other than that, I'll open it up for questions. I know live migration pretty straightforward, but also a lot of unique features and gives you the ability to do HA without having to really configure anything. So a good product, but I'll open it up to any questions anyone might have on it.
Great. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself. Feel free to ask away.
Hey, Nick, this is Carl.
Yeah.
Any examples or benefits that we have done, for our customers here at Managecore that they've gained by doing live migrations? I mean, do we have any examples of where, the customer experience, not only positive, but what were the benefits from it?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we definitely have examples of where live migration came into play, and we actually at Managecore monitor the failovers of live migration. So we actually get alerted when it happens. So we see it happening, several times a month at certain clients, and that's okay, right? That's okay that happens because Google is generally doing maintenance and failing you over with this live migration tool set. Again, 100% uptime when this all happens. We're just getting notified that it has. But in that instance, if live migration wasn't there, we'd have to schedule outage windows for those multiple times a month to have whatever physical hardware be patched or whatever maintenance they are doing. So live migration completely takes that out of the picture. So if you take a client that we've seen have probably 2 or 3 of these instances in the course of a month, that would have potentially been an outage or a shutdown and restart, and that didn't have to happen with live migration. Live migration prevented them from having that outage.
Got it.
Awesome. One question I had was, is this technology available on other public clouds? Does it have to be configured compared to kind of the Google Cloud where it's configured already and built for SAP specifically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. So live migration is nothing that you have to configure. It just comes as standard part of GCP offering. So when you deploy a compute engine, you have live migration already there. You can, however, configure whether or not you want a VM to restart on a live migration. You can turn it on and off. So it is customizable, but it's there by default. You don't have to do anything to take advantage of it. But you do have customizing options when you run live migration in GCP. And in regards to other clouds, there are other technologies that can do this as well. Each cloud has their own kind of unique flair to it or unique flavor. I still have in other clouds I've seen outage windows that are still needed and required. So I can't speak 100% to the other clouds. I know technologies like that exist, but I also have seen it where I've had to schedule outages in other clouds where I don't have to do that in GCP. So something to take away. It seems like other clouds may not have the exact level of technology as GCP, but possibly something that's similar.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking too, specific to the private cloud, of having a lot of manual efforts maybe to run maintenance and have all that kind of scheduled.
Yeah, so private cloud's a lot different. Private cloud, mileage may vary depending on which private cloud you go to and how they configured it. But you may not have this capability. Generally, it's not there, right? Because there's a set amount of hardware. So unless they have an N+1 environment for the entire landscape, there's really nowhere for you to move.
Sure.
So you might not be able to do a live migration if there's not the hardware there. Plus, you're relying on other technologies. So live migration is proprietary to Google, but there's other products like VMware's vMotion that can do that. But it's generally not as configurable for the client. So the client has complete control with live migration, what you want to do with it. Do you want to start systems, so on and so forth. In a private cloud, you generally don't have that flexibility. You're relegated to what the private cloud has actually configured it for. So it's not apples to apples there. I would say live migration gives clients more flexibility and more redundancy than your standard private cloud offering for something similar.
And that's all included in a package solution for a customer, or is this an extra cost, or is it added in?
Yeah, good question. So live migration is all included. There's no additional cost for live migration. As I mentioned earlier, it's already on. It just happens by default, and you can customize it to your needs, but there's no cost associated with it.
Great. Anyone else on the phone have any other question, or on the live meetup here have any questions? Yeah, I think that's about it. So just a reminder, we have another session coming up on Tuesday, again by the great Nick Militich. He'll be talking about intelligent SAP basis automation software, specifically what Managecore is able to provide customers to really automate the basis function that we provide for customers. So please join that one. Again, all recorded sessions are available on Managecore.com. There's a link on the homepage. Here's the live link here. We'll also be sending that out here shortly. If you have any questions between now and then, or any other questions for Nick or myself or Frank or Carl, please email me, ktanner@managecore.com, or feel free to always reach out to Michael. Cool. Thanks. I think that's about things. Thanks, everyone.